What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast featuring Phil Perry. The Patriots and Carolina Panthers get after it in the first joint practice of 2022 training camp. A lot of meat on the bone. Phil and I get after it. Ha!
It's time, world champion, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Phil, as I said, we're going to get after it. Number one takeaway from today's joint workout, which lasted at least 2.5, maybe 2:45.
My number one takeaway was the fact that this Patriots offense, because we talked about it so much, Tom, finally showed that it was gaining some traction in two different ways. And I'll be brief. But number one, some of the newer concepts that they've been emphasizing, really dating back to the spring, I thought showed real progress early in practice today. Wide zone, stretch, outside zone, Shanahan, whatever you want to call it. Progress there. Number two, I also thought there was a concerted effort by the Patriots to push the ball down the field, which we have seen hardly at all to this point in training camp. But you had long completions to DeVante Parker. You had a long DPI drawn by Nelson Aguilar. Ty Montgomery gets into the mix late in the practice. They were pushing the ball down the field, which told me that they actually got a little bit of protection up front from Mac Jones's offensive line. So those are the two areas that I have noted because we've talked so much about this Patriots offense. There are two reasons for optimism for Patriots fans right there.
Yeah, and then, as I said, so many takeaways. My two big ones were, first off, individual drills. The Patriots cornerbacks were sticky. They're going to make it switch defensively, probably play a little more zone, but it was interesting to hear Carolina Panthers coach Matt Rule speak about the intricacy of the looks the Patriots defense gave them, probably ordered by Rule to try and make things hard for his Carolina quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. But whether it was Jack Jones, Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, Jalen Mills, who had an outstanding day. The Patriots cornerbacks were on point. The other interesting thing, we saw the Panthers a little noisier, a little louder. We're accustomed to that with teams when they play the Patriots because the Patriots are a measuring stick. Even though they're probably a middle-of-the-pack team in 2022, we still saw Carolina bring the juice a little bit more than the Patriots. We were disabused of that idea, though, by Adrian Phillips. And at the end of practice, the Patriots did bring their own juice. Who do you think had the edge today, Phil? Which team performed better overall?
I thought it was the Patriots. I really did. Defensively, it was hard, it looked like, for the Panthers to get much going. They did hit a deep ball down the middle of the field to DJ Moore. Good player, probably their best offensive player. And so that's going to happen in a given practice. Scratch that. He's not their best offensive player. Christian McCaffrey's their best offensive player. But Christian McCaffrey also caught a ball down the field as well. So two of their best players, two of their playmakers there make catches. McCaffrey's was on a deep route in the 2-minute drill on Jawan Bentley. Not a great situation for Bentley usually to be on the field in 2 minutes. It's not really his role usually. And then that individual matchup, certainly not a good matchup for him. But outside of those two plays, Tom, it just felt like they had a hell of a time getting anything going. Dietrich Wise was a monster up front. He gave Ikem Ekwonu all he could handle. He's a high-end first-round pick on that offensive line for Carolina. They had people in the backfield all day. They did blitz quite a bit, but I saw Duggar in the backfield. I saw Miles Bryant in the backfield on a run play. Jabril Peppers was out there and looked like a full participant for really the first time all summer. He was flying around the field making plays. You mentioned the DBs and some of the great plays they made, but I thought up front, the Patriots were just as good. And so between that and the Patriots offense being far from perfect, but showing a little bit of progress, you put those two things together, I think they won the day today.
Yeah, and then we're just to tack on a few other observations on plays made. Duggar had a pick in one-on-ones, very well-timed pick. I can't stress enough how good the Patriots corners looked in one-on-ones. You're supposed to get your ass beat in one-on-ones that are more than 10, 15 yards downfield because it's just you and a wide receiver with the entire field to run around on. But they were great. Duggar had a pick. There were multiple pass breakups, and there was also a pick. Phil, who the hell was 26 again for the ninth time? Sean Wade.
Sean Wade.
Sean Wade had a pick too in one of the end of practice situational exercises where Carolina was trying to plow the ball down the field. It was a second team Carolina offense against second team Patriots defense. Tip ball, somebody up front made a play, as they did most of the day. Sean Wade comes up with the pick. What we haven't delved into is the fracas. So before we get to the fracas, the ways and means, and what it all meant, anything else we need to hit on relative to that individual stuff? I also want to hit on the offense and just a couple of specifics with that and the offensive line. But before we get fracas, any other guys we need to highlight? DeVante Parker was outstanding today.
He was dynamite. Those 50-50 balls, he just continues to reel those in without issue. It feels like, for the most part. He was throwing one today, might have been a little bit overthrown. JC Horn, it looked like, got his hand on it. He's not a full participant yet for Carolina, but he's a great young player. And so that'll happen. But he caught two more down the field today. And again, you're trying to get the ball down the field. Who are you doing that with? It's with DeVante Parker, clearly. Tyquan Thornton eventually will be part of that mix, I think, on a more regular basis in full teamwork. We saw him make some plays in in one-on-ones, Tyquan Thornton. But Parker is giving this team something they didn't have previously. It's why he's here. It's why I think it was a great deal made by the Patriots when they executed that thing, because you're not paying him a ton. You didn't give up a ton, and you got somebody who I think is going to really just give you an option. Anytime there's one-on-one on the outside, it just feels like Mac Jones has gotten so comfortable floating him the football, even when he's covered, and he just continues to make plays. So I thought he was one of the stars of the day. Defensively, it was probably Mills, who you mentioned. I thought he had 3 pass breakups today, Tom, including on the goal line in the 2-minute drill towards the end of practice, a pass breakup on a little stack release, it looked like, by the Panthers, very reminiscent of the interception by Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. He jumped the route the same way Butler did. He didn't pick it off, but he got his hand in there. He broke it up. They had one more play to try to get it in the end zone. Panthers couldn't do it. Big time celebration by the Patriots. Some real energy shown there, but it took them a while to get there, and that may lead us to our discussion on the fight.
I'm going to do this too. Hold on the fight. Jakobi Meyers, Phil noted to me, and it's one of those things, you're watching so much at practice and your eyes are darting and you're making mental notes and you're making physical notes on your phone and you're trying to figure out whether an observation made in a vacuum is indicative of what you're seeing the entire day. But Phil goes, Jakobi Meyers was good today. And then you replay all the times you saw Jakobi Meyers catch crosses and just explode. He looks faster. I don't think he is, but boy, he and Mac Jones just understand the speed of each other, I think, because when he catches the ball, he's going full speed, and he had a good practice too. Kendrick Bourne, we talked about him yesterday on the television as having kind of fallen by the wayside in terms of getting reps. I said, no big deal there. He's a key part of this Patriots offense. It's just a byproduct of being August 12th. But today he was pulled by Bill Belichick for not being prepared for a rep. Belichick was not happy. Let him know that. Tyquan Thornton came in for him. And then on the aforementioned fracas, Kendrick Bourne wound up being in the second wave fracas, threw a punch and got himself thrown out. So we'll see if he's even out there tomorrow. But Phil, how did that whole thing start?
Well, it's actually really interesting because I noted on a play during an 11-on-11 period that Christian Wilkerson caught a ball over the middle, caught a few extra shoves, it looked like, from Panthers defensive backs. And they were, through the first hour of practice, it looked to me like the more physical team, the more energetic team. They were punching the ball out on a regular basis. There was a 7-on-7 period that the Patriots had where they had completions or near completions that were punched out or ended up being fumbles on several different reps. So they were really energized. And so he gets this pass and he ends up taking a few shoves. Okay, don't think too much of it. The next time he catches a ball is right over and it takes him into the Panthers bench. And yeah, okay. So yes, there's a little rattling around maybe over there on the Panthers bench. Tom's adding sound effects for us. And he starts heading back toward the Patriots bench and toward the middle of the field. And maybe there were words exchanged, and it looked to me like, and we don't have the benefit of replay, but it did look like there was an assistant coach there on the sideline who gave a very light shove to Wilkerson as if to say, okay, back to your huddle. As soon as that happened, Wilkerson kind of whipped his head around to the bench, must have said something. And I would love to know what he said, because as soon as he said it, it must have been so vile that there were 3 or 4 Panthers who immediately jumped him, essentially, and started wrestling around. And then you get the 2 massive groups from both teams congregating, pushing, shoving, trying to break it up. And then you got the whole Patriots defense and Panthers offense, which were on the adjacent field. All of them spill over. Tom's doing play-by-play on the hill as we're watching it all play out. And he said, the benches are clear. Here comes the bullpen. That's really what it looked like. Only you've got 180 guys out there as opposed to, 50 some odd or whatever it is when you see a baseball fight like that. So that was one of the better team-wide scraps that I think we've seen in years at a Patriots training camp practice, wasn't it?
And it took a long time. Yeah, well, it was, because it was lengthy. There was the initial scuffle, and it was like almost one of those baseball scuffles where you see it settle down. Well, we're there after it again. The goalies are throwing. So it exploded, and then on the very next play, Trent Brown was pass blocking on the edge, and I couldn't – the jersey was so bound up on the Panthers edge player that I couldn't exactly make out who it was, but the edge player had his hand up kind of on the collar of Brown and didn't let it go, and was kind of collar into the neck area. And at the end, the guy tried to pat Brown on the back as, okay, we were just playing, and Brown just kind of gave him a little shove, and it started again. And then I have no idea how in God's name James Ferentz got into a sumo wrestling match on the sideline like 5 plays later. He's an interior lineman. He's on the sideline either getting thrown down or throwing someone down. I thought he got thrown down. Together they spun and fell. But it's like 15 yards downfield on the left-hand side, again on the Panthers sideline, and it started again, and Ferentz is getting ushered off. He's like, I didn't throw a punch. They kicked his ass out too. Do you have anything to add on those, frat guy?
It just felt to me like the Panthers were almost asking for it. There were multiple instances in practice where it looked like they were trying to egg the Patriots on. And so I don't know if it's because, Matt Rule is supposed to be this, even Bill Belichick gave him credit for being a motivator the other day. And so maybe he's just in their ear so often about how nobody respects us and nobody thinks we're going to be able to do anything. And so they come in with this sort of Napoleonic approach when they get to Foxborough. As I'm looking at the 6 Super Bowl trophies in the middle of the field here, I think teams still look at the Patriots as the Patriots. And so they say it's a chance for us to kind of prove who we are.
Cherubin with the early edition call.
Oh, we got a call.
Yeah, but hold on. No, let's stay.
I just think that's probably at the root of some of it and all the energy that we saw. I thought it was interesting when I asked Adrian Phillips about the energy.
Let me get Cherubin on the line here real quick. Hey, Shrub. Hey, you're being recorded at the moment. Phil and I are still mid-pod. Can we call you back in about 10? No.
I didn't mean to interrupt. No, call me. Sorry.
Okay. No, don't be sorry. I said.
Oh, he's so polite. He's so polite when he knows he's being recorded.
All right, We'll call you back in 5.
All right. Okay,
bye. That's how the sausage gets made, folks.
He's the best.
He is. So he's one of our producers for Early Edition. We also have Jeff Capitosto, Sarah Cordero, Steve Hamblin, Sarah Mitchell, all among our esteemed producers. And they call us, midday to say, okay, what do you guys want to talk about? What angles do you want to take? We usually find something really negative and decide to harp on that.
Don't forget about our guy, Mark Hazlitt. Don't forget.
Did I forget Mark? Oh, and he's an up-and-comer too. I love Mark. Love Mark's basketball takes. We share a lot of basketball sensibilities.
He has some good snarky Patriots humor on our email chains too.
Yeah. I mean, if you people even knew what we talk people off the ledge from putting on air. If you think we're negative, we are constantly talking people off the ledge. Should the Patriots be relegated? Should the Patriots disband?
Those are your topics.
Will they ever get first down? All right, be that as it may.
Anyway, that was how I kind of viewed it. And when I asked Phillips about the energy at the start of practice, because it did look, we were sitting right next to each other saying, wow, Panthers are really flying around. They're really loud. They are really physical. They're tackling to the ground. You know, they had to be told, I think it was Derek Brown, first snap of 11 on 11s. He basically tackles Damian Harris to the ground. And then it's stay up, you know, across the field. So they were initiating the physicality that we saw. But I asked Phillips about it later, Tom, and he said, no, it wasn't the case. We had plenty of energy. We just go about our business. We're not about that rah-rah stuff. Whatever they got to do to get themselves going, that's fine. We do things a little differently. So whatever you see from afar, that's one thing, but it doesn't mean that we didn't show up with energy, because we did. And he was very emphatic. He didn't like necessarily where the conversation was going, which is unlike him. He's one of the most pleasant guys on the Patriots. So I thought that was interesting, just his reaction to how it was perceived when we hear what we hear and we see what we see. And it's very evident to us that one team has energy. He wanted to make it known. No. We just do it a little differently on our side.
Yeah. And I circled back and just beat that dead horse and said that he insinuated that that they were over the top with their rah-rah stuff. And I wasn't really trying to be as big a dink. I don't think he thought I was being a dink. I was just like, so are you saying that? He's like, no. They can get crunk however they want to get crunk. And I was like, that's how I thought they were getting crunk. But they got crunk in a more extreme way. But it is interesting. It's, you know, I tweeted something saying that the enthusiasm and physicality was being carried by the Panthers, but that the Patriots had many very good moments through the practice. And I think, again, the Patriots won the day. But in terms of enthusiasm, just giddiness to be there, and the kind of – look, anybody who's going to deny that football's an emotional game should hang up right now and go mow the lawn, because it is. And Belichick himself has acknowledged it. There is a place for emotion. The Panthers brought more of it, but it was interesting to hear it articulated that, look, we're not just out there punching the clock, but just because we're not doing cartwheels out there doesn't mean we're not into it. So a good day overall for the New England Patriots in their first joint practice. Defensively, especially, some standouts on offense. Oh, last one. Offensive line. We saw how shitty it was last week at times, and a full-on embarrassment. Still no Isaiah Wynn. Jawan Williams gets released. That's a totally different conversation, Tom. You don't have to put those two in there. What'd you see in the offensive line?
I don't think he got released. He got hurt, right, Jawan Williams?
Did I just release Jawan Williams?
Yeah, you had him cut, yeah.
Well, okay. Tomorrow's news today.
Oh, IR probably, right? For him.
Probably,
something along those lines. I thought the offensive line was...
If you were about to get cut, would you say, my arm? You could do that, right?
Is that what you're implying happened here?
No, I'm not insinuating anything.
This is a fortuitous injury for Jawan Williams?
I don't know. But Isaiah Williams, Jesus Christ. Isaiah Wynn has not been seen. He's hurt, and he didn't seem like a guy who was too psyched. I'm going to go with haphazard speculation here.
Oh.
I didn't see him get hurt. And then all of a sudden he was watching practice last week. And then he didn't play in the game. Now he's not even at practices. What's going on there? Didn't seem too happy about switching from left tackle to right tackle last year of his contract. He's making $10 million, though. I mean, how pissed can he be?
He's making $10 million. And if there was ever a way to maybe improve your standing and improve your own personal situation, I don't know. Is it to maybe do what you're insinuating that he might be doing, which is...
Whoa!
I'm just saying, listen, you're Mr. Insinuator here. You were insinuating with Adrian Phillips. You were insinuating that the Panthers maybe had some fake energy or something. And then you're insinuating with Jawan Williams that there may be some mysterious shoulder injury there. And now we're insinuating something with Isaiah Wynn.
No, I'm not.
You tell me.
I'm just saying the guy was out of practices, didn't see him get hurt, and now he's
just hurt so frequently that I believe it, that he's dealing with something physical.
I believe he's dealing with something physical too, but we haven't been told, hey, he's hurt. And there is no injured list. And he
Bill
hasn't
said he was
seemed,
day to day. So, I guess that could mean a variety of different things.
hasn't seemed like the happiest of campers here at camp.
He
So-
has not. He has not, especially with the position switch. And I've asked him about it multiple times now. He's not thrilled with that
Yeah, he
conversation.
loves that question from you.
He just doesn't. He doesn't ever answer any questions, and so we continue to come back at him with these questions. And he says,
The answer's not going
"What
to
do you
change.
want me to do? What do you want me to do?" Essentially, is what he says. Here's the deal with the Patriots offensive line is that it maybe never looked better than it did today.
Wait a minute. Phil's
So I
right
don't know.
down here. I can see him.
No.
He's in the other.
No, it looked fine though. I mean, it wasn't excellent, but I had them of the 22 one-on-one snaps that I charted or one-on-one reps that I charted offense, Patriots offensive line versus Panthers pass rushers. And I did not get them all because they are rapid fire and it's really hard to keep track of all those. I try to get the majority of the ones with the quote unquote starters. Be that as it may, of the 22 that I saw, I had the Patriots win 12 of those reps. So I had him go 12-10. I thought Cole Strange acquitted himself nicely. I had him going 2-1, although had he been flagged for one of them, I would have understood. It looked like he did get a hand outside, though I didn't think he was holding. It looked like he got a hand outside on one of those reps. Anyway, I thought he played well. I thought Trent Brown played well in those. I had him 2-1 also, I believe. I think he lost one rep to Brian Burns. But outside of that, once he gets his hands on you, you generally do not win those. So they looked okay in the one-on-ones, and I thought it transferred relatively well to the field in 11-on-11s. It didn't look like there was a ton of running room for them in general, but I mentioned off the top that Mac Jones finally is pushing the ball down the field a little bit. You can't do that if there are people on top of you on a consistent basis, which there has been previously in practice. So he had more time today than he has in most Patriots practices this training camp. And so that's why I say not a bad day from them. Was it a great day? No, Mac Jones had to push one into the end zone in a 2-minute drill at the end where it was, I got to have it. You got to score. It felt like they were maybe down 5 or down 6. Win the game, throw a touchdown with no time left on the clock. So he ends up throwing one off his back foot. It ends up being an interception in the end zone. But outside of that, it didn't look like there was consistent jailbreak pressure. There were a handful, but it wasn't consistent the way it has been in some of these other workouts.
Again, a week ago, the offense was a complete non-starter, as in aborted play after aborted play. Today, there were some sloppy plays, but the larger amount were productive reps all the way around. So the Patriots will be back at it again tomorrow with the Panthers. They'll be off on Thursday. Friday will be the preseason game. Then we will have Vegas next week. Phil, as far as I know, is heading to Vago. He actually has bought a couple satin shirts. And he's looking to stroll and strip. I don't know. I'm not a big Vegas guy. I haven't gone.
With this shirt playing Vegas, we got a lot of buttons on this. I was just going over this with John Henry.
That's a party
I could
shirt.
go full Chris Sims on you and go 4 buttons. You don't usually see 4 buttons on the polo.
It's a good way to get yourself punched in the face. But I think
that's not my look. That's Chris Sims's look.
Chris Sims is a pretty big guy. He's not going to get punched in the face. You're a pretty big guy too, but
no, he's bigger than me. That's
somebody might be the Carolina Panthers of Las Vegas and take a swing. Hey, and now we get Jakobi Meyers, irrelevant questions. I hope you enjoy it on Quick Slants when you see it live. Here's the whole Megillah right now on Talk about podcast. And again, we got a lot to get to this week, so stay tuned. Stick with us. We'll give you all the intel you need. Bye. All right, this is what everybody's been waiting for. It's Irrelevant Questions, triumphant return, and none other than Jakobi Meyers joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. As a Georgia guy, was last week even hot?
It was a little I would say it almost messes with you more because you don't expect it to be hot. You know what I mean? Like down south, I expect it to be hot. When I come to Boston, you think cold. So when it get hot, it's like, oh man, like, I'm dying. You know what I mean?
That was straight sucker punch heat.
Yeah, exactly. The sucker punch, exactly.
It's like you're walking around with a comforter on. You guys have to practice the entire day.
Yes, we do.
Does anybody really? I mean, you can't complain about it, but I imagine some guys are complaining about it. What's your stance on the heat? Ignore it? Embrace it? What?
You got to embrace it, right? Honestly, when you got a game in Miami, the first game, it kind of, you look for these hot days because you know what I mean? When you go to Miami, it's going to be toasty down there, you know what I mean? So you got to try to prepare for these and embrace it, and hopefully it's just a good intro to what we got coming up, you know what I mean?
All right. It's funny. I don't know if a lot of people know this. They know you can throw, but they don't know how good a baseball player you were.
That's back in the day. Yeah, I was decent. I was solid.
You were an 8th grader playing varsity, is that correct?
Yeah, I was.
In Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's like a AA team up here.
Yeah, they take you pretty serious down there. Yeah.
What position did you play?
I play short and I pitch, and I play a little center.
How hard did you throw?
Like 89, 90. That was probably about my 11th grade year and getting up to there. Mm-hmm.
How good were you? You could if you're throwing 90, I'm sure some school would have wanted you.
It was solid. I wasn't the best. It just once I started playing football, baseball kind of just washed out. You know what I mean? Because I played football real late. You know what I mean? I had stopped playing from probably like my 7th grade year, middle school, till I didn't start in college until my senior year of high school. So I gave up the football thing for a minute. So I was just baseball. But then football came back and it just completely washed out baseball.
Do you have any explanation for that? Were you just baseballed out?
A little bit of that, and just the locker room vibe is different. You know what I mean? A football locker room, if nobody ever experienced it, man, it's all time. You know, you guys you go in there and you chill with your boys, y'all laugh, y'all joke, y'all fight. You know what I mean? It's a real family type of environment. I love that.
Now, baseball locker rooms, guys are quirky. They're on their own. It's like, and you're with each other so much. Mm-hmm. Is that why it's different? And you got little routines and shit.
I think football, you just got more personalities. You know, everybody, the baseball thing, you do got a lot of different routines. But football, the personalities, like the big guys, I feel like the big guys are always the funniest. You know what I mean? The linemen, D-linemen, they always bring jokes, and they be kind of secretly talented. So they always got something to bring to the table. It's so many guys. You learn a lot about your family, and y'all really bond, man. So it's great.
Speaking of secret talents, when you were a rookie, what did you do to entertain when you had to get up and do something for the team? You remember?
Oh, I got booed for a couple jokes, for sure. Yeah, that was probably brutal, you know what I mean? They got me out of there quick, you know.
You got the hook?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My jokes are terrible.
Do you even remember any?
Oh, no. Gladly. I had to let those go, flush them.
Check this out. How do you catch a unique rabbit?
Ooh, how?
Unique up on him.
Man. Nah, I think that one would have got me booed, too. I'm not going to lie. That probably got me booed.
Yeah. Just a couple quick questions about folks in the media who you might have encountered. Ooh. Mike Reese from ESPN. How far do you think you could throw him?
I'll give him about 60.
You could throw him 60?
I'm joking. Nah, probably he is a smaller guy. Realistically, I'll probably give him 5 yards.
Okay. Do you think that Phil Perry, the senator, could post you up and take you down low and score on a little jump hook if you were playing hoop?
Nah, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Last question. You ever seen a head bigger than Scott Zolak's?
Not one that jumps off like that, nah.
No, it really does jump at you, right?
Yeah.
It's like Mardi Gras.
Oh, man, you must got beef with those guys.
No, we will now, though.
Right? Definitely,
though.
Yeah.
Good news.
You got me far in.
The last thing I wanted to ask about was your tattoos. Mm-hmm. We have Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, there.
Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm.
Rosa Parks. Mm-hmm. MLK. I'm not going to go to the inner thigh. If there's other ones you want to talk about. We have one on the back, too.
Yeah, Malcolm X. There. Mm-hmm.
So give me the story, if you could, about each one.
It's just people that I learned about growing up, and when I was a little kid. I mean, they talked a lot about Muhammad Ali down there. You know what I mean? He hated the training, but at the end of the day, he knew he had to do it to be great. This one probably has the most interesting story because my rookie year when I came in, I didn't know him for long, but Demaryius Thomas. He was a big Bob Marley fan. And he was just a real great guy, and I didn't know a lot about him, but when I was there, he made all the rookies feel comfortable and just feel like genuine guys, outside of football. So when he passed, I just felt like I had to go do that for him, you know what I mean? And just because he had a Bob Marley tattoo, so it just kind of resonated with me, and I was like, let me get a Bob Marley tattoo. So.
He was I only had a couple of encounters with him too. He was really just an engaging guy.
No, he definitely was, man. He really did. He had a special way about just making you feel comfortable. He never acted like he was bigger than you. We all looked up to Demaryius Thomas. You know what I mean? He had a great career, and he was still a young guy at heart. So it just, when he passed, it was a weird feeling. You know what I mean? I just felt like I had to do something at the end of the day just to.
As his career goes on, things like that, or things like just watching other guys play and retire, or everything is so fleeting, isn't it?
Yes,
this time in your life, from 21 or even 17 to hopefully 35, 36, It's a wild ride.
It's crazy. It's crazy how fast it go by too. You know what I mean? It's just. I remember first coming in, meeting James White. You know what I mean? A lot of the guys when I first came in, we all wanted to be like James White, and now he's not playing no more. So it just really, you got to really embrace the guys when you get a chance to, because you never know when the last time you'll step on the field them as men, or even like Demarius Thomas, just talk to them. You know,
So to make as many bonds as you can over the course of
as
time.
possibly can. You know, it's the connections for real.
You know, guys are probably looking up at you now.
I'm hoping so. That means I'm doing something right.
Yeah, wait till I hear about the Zolak joke. All right, we're done.